Yo guys, my name is Snowmed, and today we're going to be doing an R&B beat in LMMS. I don't really do too many R&B beats. The R&B beat I'm going to be making today is sort of like that Drake, Bryson Tiller type vibe, you know? I don't really know how to make like that smooth jazz and all that stuff. Maybe in the future, but this is the type of R&B that I usually listen to, so it was the easiest for me to like learn. So yeah, I'm going to be making a Drake, Bryson Tiller type beat, and let's get into it. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is obviously get rid of everything here and just have your beat and bass line. Okay, so now that we're in here, we can remove this, and what we're gonna do first is lower the tempo. You don't want your tempo to be at 140 to 160. Usually if you're doing R&B, you want it to be around like from 70 to like 100. You don't really want to go above that. I'm gonna put my tempo at 90. So as you can see, my tempo is now 90, and now you can make the chords. Okay, so what you want to do is go over here to your instrument plugins and drag in Vestige. Now you click Vestige, and right here on the C5 thing, we want this white square to be on that C5 so it's in tune. Then we're gonna click this green folder, scroll down and look for a VST Synth 1. Just download the VST. If you haven't downloaded it yet, I already made a video on it. And if you don't have this VST, it's free. I already made a video on it. Just download it from that video. I left it in the comments, and honestly, it's 25,000 free presets. Just download it, it's free. So usually we would make our chords first and then pick a sound. But for R&B, you really want like a smooth pad sound. So I'm actually going to find the sound first and then make the chords. And sound selection in R&B beats is very important. So I'm actually going to show what I look for in a sound when I'm creating these R&B beats. So obviously I go in here and we're going to look for a sound that is kind of smooth and paddy, but also if you like a sound and it's not as smooth or doesn't hold a note, we can change it. So I found the sound of this Ichiro 07 and it's called C04, and I'm gonna let you guys hear it. So obviously it doesn't last as long as you'd like it to, so I'm gonna go over here to our amplifier and up the sustain so it lasts longer, it's more smooth instead of just a little tap. So once I've increased the sustain of the sound, I'm actually gonna go over here and up the gain a little bit because it's a little bit quiet and I want it to pop out more. So as you can see, I upped the sustain and the gain, and that's how you edit sounds. So if you ever see a sound that doesn't last as much, like a bell or a pluck, and you want it to be like a single tone, all you have to do here is up the sustain and it'll last longer. So now we're gonna go into our piano roll, and now we're gonna choose a key. For these R&B beats, you kind of want it to be in a minor key. It gives a lot more atmosphere and more suspense, and honestly it just sounds better. So I'm going to choose a key. I'm going to choose D minor. So I've chosen D Aeolian, which is the same as D minor. And now we're going to make our chords. And making chords for R&B beats is kind of different compared to the normal, you know, just skip one of these white lines. Because usually we make a chord like this, but this just sounds too happy. It doesn't really sound like what we need. So here's a simple trick to making R&B chords. What you want to do is sort of drag the note away. So you sort of want the notes to be strummed out like this. And if they sound good, and if they sound like they sound good together, then it's a good chord and you should keep it. So as you can see, this A chord I really don't like, so I'm going to move it up. So as you can see, it still kind of doesn't sound that right. So as you can see, you just gotta play with these notes until it sounds good. Basically, you just gotta play with these notes until it sounds good in a pattern. And once it sounds good, then you can just move it back to the normal chord position. So I'm just gonna play around with these chords, and I'll be back once I'm done with my chord progression. So as you can see, I finished all my chords, and I'm just gonna give you guys an example for what I mean when the pattern sounds right. So I'm gonna play these 4 notes. So obviously when playing those, they sounded good, you know, they sounded like they're a proper chord rather than any note being off key or out of place. And even like for normal trap beats, if you want, you can use this tactic to create your chords. But for R&B beats, it's kind of hard to like find unique melodies because these 4 chords are going to play throughout the whole song. So it'll kind of get boring if it's just bland basic chords playing throughout the whole song. So that's why you kind of want your chords to be more unique. So yeah, I basically finished my chord progression and I'll let you guys hear it. So yeah, those are the 4 chords, but obviously this isn't the R&B sound that we're looking for. And here's where we get that, you know, dark underwater sound. We go in here, click our Synth 1 VST, and go into effects. And now we're gonna add an EQ. you just go EQ and the equalizer pops up. So now what we're gonna do is take this 8 and drag it all the way so we don't have any of our high frequencies. We're gonna take that 8 and drag it to around here. Then we're gonna take this 7 actually and drag it even a little more so this straightens out, so it's a little more flat. And we're gonna do this till it's around here. So now we've EQ'd out all of these highs, and now listen to how it sounds. So yeah, as you can see, it sounds way more darker, more vibier, and that's really how you get that R&B sound, is not having the highs in the sound anymore. So really what you want to do is create a low pass filter where all the highs are gone. Well, they don't have to be gone because you don't want to lose all the information here. Filter out all the highs and it honestly creates that R&B sound. With a smooth pad, it's perfect. So now we have a little bit of reverb, and honestly we're done with our chords now. This is the main bit of our R&B beat, so I'll let you guys listen to it. So yeah, those are our chords, and now we can move on to the sub bass. So one thing with the new R&B beats these days is that they have a very cinematic feel to them, and the way they add that is through a really dark sub bass. So what we're gonna do now is go into our VST and find a bass. So we're gonna kick this gear and press clone this track. Then we can just go in here, delete all of this stuff, and now we're gonna look for a sub bass. Okay, so now you have this clone. We're gonna go back to our VST and look for a sub bass. So I found this W sub bass in this Azure Studio bank, and now what we're gonna do is make sure this is tuned to C again, and go into our chords and Control Shift drag all of these bass notes. So the bottom notes of all of these, we're gonna Control Shift drag them, and now we're gonna Control C, so we copied them. And then we're gonna go into our bass again, and then we're just gonna Control V, and now we got our sub bass. And just listen to the vibe it creates when it's combined with the chords. So yeah, the sub bass really adds a lot. And actually I'm gonna rename these a little. Okay, so I renamed these so it's a little easier to see what I'm talking about, but yeah, the bass adds a lot to the song. Okay, so now we're almost done with the melodies and stuff, because you really don't want too much in an R&B song, you know, you really want the artist to do a lot of it, but you also don't want it to be too simple or else it gets boring and redundant. So we're just gonna add a top melody. So once again, we're gonna click this gear and clone, and we can delete all this, and we're gonna look for a top melody, you know, a little bell or a little pluck sound, and that should be good. So I found this pluck sound in this Brian Lake bank, and I'll let you know this is like the type of sound that you should probably go for. So yeah, something like that. Now I'm just gonna create a top melody, and I'll let you back once I'm done with it. So I'm done with my top melody, and as you can see, it's not too complex. It just goes down, then up again, and then down again. But yeah, you don't really want your top melody to be too insane, or else your artist won't have any room to like sing their heart out. So yeah, you just want your R&B beats to be very simple and very bare bones. And as you can see, like all these notes are like the same length except for like these two. Now we're literally done with all our melodic components, and I'll let you hear all of them combined together. So yeah, that's our melodic component done, and now we just have the drums and we're basically done. So now we're gonna go in here, we're gonna go back to our drum kits. Okay, so now we're in our drum kits, and the first thing we're gonna look for is a clap. And one like producer tip that I'll give you is, if you're struggling with drums and you don't know like what to do with it in the song, start out with the easiest bits first, because then you get more of it done, and then you just have ideas coming into you. So obviously I don't really know like how I want the drums to sound or how I want the kicks to go. So yeah, I'm gonna start with the claps. So I'm gonna go in this Dark Boy Pluto kit and just choose any clap from here. I like this Hey clap, and obviously it sounds like a normal clap, right? But we're gonna change that. So obviously claps aren't gonna be too different, but the one thing you wanna do with your claps is just add a touch of reverb, because the reverb will give it a lot more atmosphere and a lot more space, and just makes it more vibier, you know? And that's what we're looking for in R&B beats, the vibe. So I've added that touch of reverb, and now I'm gonna place the claps in. So I've just placed the claps in like the normal order that we would usually, and I'll let you hear how they sound with the reverb. So yeah, as you can see, they're like, it sounds like they're in a room, like, and it echoes for like a long time. So that's what you want to do with all your claps. Now the next easiest bit is like the hi-hat bit. So now I'm gonna go find like a hi-hat that's kind of interesting, you know. Usually we just go with like a very basic like staccato hi-hat, but now I'm gonna find one that has a little bit of character to it. So what I mean by basic hi-hat is this. So yeah, it's very staccato, very like boring, but I'm gonna show you like what an interesting hi-hat is. So I chose this Kelly Price hat from this All You Can Eat kit from the Migos. The hi-hat here is a lot more like interesting and complex compared to like the staccato one we chose earlier. And considering it's basically just going to be a two-step pattern throughout like all the parts we use the hi-hat, we really don't want it to be this boring sound. We wanted the hi-hat to be like, you know, a little interesting, a little characteristic. So I'm just going to put the hi-hat down. Now what we got to add that adds a lot of character to like the drop and stuff is our kick. Now we really want our kick to be sharp. We don't want it to be dulled out by the melody, by the bass or anything. We want it to be sharp and like piercing through the melody. So we're going to find a really sharp kick. So I'm in this KBZ kit and I found this kick bleep. So I'm going to add that. So what you want to do with your kicks in the R&B beat is place them right next to each other. And I'll show you what I mean. So here I have the kick by itself and here I have the kicks right next to each other. And just listen to the difference and how it sounds. The kicks that are back to each other sound way better than just one solo kick. And obviously you can have like a solo kick here and stuff, but at the start of your kick you really want a double kick, and that really adds to the energy of the track. Since you're gonna already have such little energy in the mellow and stuff, you really want some piercing drums. So I'm just gonna do this kick pattern, and obviously if you're following along you can just copy with me. Okay, so I've placed my kick pattern in here and I'll let you guys hear it with the whole melody, because honestly we're basically done now. So yeah, that's how the kick sounds with it, but obviously there are a few bits and pieces we can do this to polish it up. So one thing you definitely want to do is go over to this gear, go over FX Master and assign this to a new FX channel. And then we're gonna go over here to this logo and click on the mixer and add a declipper to both the master and the kick. I usually do this with all my songs, but I just don't tell you. But you definitely want to do it for the kick on this R&B beat. So as you can see, I've added a declipper to the kick, and even though I've already added a declipper, I'm still gonna lower the kick just a little bit because there's a little bit of crunchiness going on that I'm sure you guys heard when I was playing it, and now the crunchiness should be gone, or at least a lot lower than it was before. So yeah, I think the kicks sound a lot better now. So yeah, we're basically done with the beat. I'm just gonna add, you know, a few open hats or maybe even like a little perk. So yeah, I found this like open hat that I want to add. So I have that in here, and I also think I'm gonna add a perk. So as you can see, I've added my open hat pattern, and I'm also thinking I'm gonna add a perk. So yeah, I've added this tree perk in, and I'm just gonna create the pattern. And yeah, I'm just gonna lower the volumes a little bit of each thing. So yeah guys, I've added the open hat, the perk, and all the melodies and stuff, and I think it's a pretty much done beat. I'm just gonna arrange this now. Let me know in the comments if you guys want more LMMS tutorials and what kind of beats you want me to do. But yeah, I'm just gonna arrange this now and let you guys listen. So make sure to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.